Good morning, guys. Welcome to Daily Refinement. In today's episode, we're going to do something really special. We're going to talk to James. He is at Bold Finds on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description right now. And we're going to discuss James's plan to welcome to Daily Refinement. In today's episode, we're going to do something really save $50,000 online on eBay and hopefully YouTube. So let's talk about your plan. But before we get into it, where can people find you?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm James, known as Bold Finds. That's my eBay store name, on Instagram at Bold Finds and YouTube at Bold Finds as well. So pretty simple. It's the same everywhere you go.
Okay, so let's get straight into it. I'm going to link your channel in the chat. And how are we going to save 50,000 pounds?
So my plan, I'll start where I am. So I've been in a group now coming up to, well, it's just over a year now. And I've took a lot of advice from the group, but I'm an everything seller. And what I'm about to say now actually goes against a lot of what the group kind of pushes. So I follow the main mentality of the group, but I want to remain an everything seller, but to stop picking up them larger items. So when I'm niching down, I'm kind of now thinking to niche down into small items to be able to grow my store bigger effectively. But I've been really thinking about the numbers, and next year I'm looking to make £20 profit at least on every item I sell in the store. So yeah, I've kind of created a spreadsheet from listening to your chats the last couple of weeks really, and just come up with a plan of how I can get to the 50,000. But at the moment, I'm kind of stuck around the 38, 39,000. So really just to find out ideas of how I can increase that to get to the 50,000 save really.
So 20 or so $20 per item. And then what is going to be your cost per item?
So I haven't really dug that deep into feeling like what the cost is going to be, because most of my sourcing is done through a car boot sale or through charity shops, etc. But normally at the moment, I'm picking up items around the £5 mark and selling them for anywhere between 15 upwards at the moment. I normally don't list anything in my store under £10 where possible. But then £10 items I'm picking up for kind of £1. So I feel I've got the margins there, but it's going to be more about the consistency with upping my listing goal and making sure I walk past them bulky items. Because Chris, sometimes at the car boot, I can see a printer sitting on the floor. It's going to cost me £5, and I know that's a £120 printer. But I need to stop picking them up because I'm working out of the shed down the bottom of the garden, and I haven't got the space to be able to store them printers if I plan to grow the business to a new level. So the plan is all them bulky items are not going to be purchased. I've actually got in my head that I want to buy items, games, consoles, and smaller is where my mentality's got to. I mean, even this morning, I sold a printer in a store and I had to search around for a big box to try and find it. I've got to make sure I've got bubble wrap and void fill. I worry about the item going to the customer and them receiving it fine. So by actually niching down to smaller items, I already have the boxes in place ready to go, and my packing speed is going to drop down.
Okay, so I like this a lot. In order to reach goals, it's much easier when you set restraints and constraints, because even though you're an everything seller, you're kind of becoming a small item seller.
Yeah.
Small and expensive. So I just want to go over today all the things that might help you narrow down the constraint or the resources that you need to reach this goal. So the first thing is, do we have everything that we need to reach the goal? So do you feel like you have the knowledge part? Do you know enough things about enough items to find items that profit that much?
Yeah, I honestly do. And I think it's because I've been reselling now 2 years. But before them 2 years of reselling, I think for about 3 years before, I was obsessed with watching UK resellers go around and pick up items to sell. So I've been following the reseller community, not just in the UK, but also watching your stuff, Chris, well before I even thought about reselling. So I've gained knowledge by going out to the car boot sale and making them mistakes as well. So yeah, I feel I can go out to a car boot sale and easily find them items. My trouble is at the moment is I sometimes go to a car boot sale and I restrict myself in the sense of I look at the stuff I've got and feel, okay, that's enough. And then when I get back home, I realize that that's only enough maybe for 3 or 4 days at the moment, because I'm only listing 13 a day at the moment, and I plan to get that up to 20 a day. I think that's kind of where I'm going to max out at potentially. So it's going to be, when I go to the car boot sale, actually buying more. So cash flow is going to be a potential stumbling block. But this is why I've been really working on my sell-through rate as well, to make sure when I'm buying them items, I'm leaving enough profit in there for me that I can list at market or just below market, because I don't want items sitting in the store for 3, 4, 5 weeks. I want to basically list up the item today and sell it within a couple of weeks. And the way I'm going to do that is by learning, obviously, what I've learned from the group in the sense of sell-through rate. So when I used to go to car boot sales, I would just check sold, and I would think, oh, okay, this item could make me £60, but I wouldn't care how many had sold. When now I'm actually looking at the actives and sold before I make my decision a lot of the time and buying items. So I feel I'm going to really concentrate on sell-through rate, because I want the items moving quick, which is not going to affect the cash flow effectively.
How many items do you need to sell a day, ideally?
So what I've done here, if it's okay to share, I've
Mhm.
created a spreadsheet with an idea
Let's look at
of
it.
what I feel it's going to be. So let me just grab that up here. Okay, so this might be a bit confusing, but if I talk through it. So effectively, January 1st, I'll be at 15 listings a day, because I'm growing one item per month. So December's going to be 14. So yeah, when we get to January, it's going to be 15 a day. But what that works out at, and I've worked this out at 0.75 sell through, I need to
Mm,
be selling 11 items a day, 11.25 in January a day, which is going to give me 348.8. So 349 sales effectively in the
mm.
month of January. And what
Okay.
I've based this on is, at the moment, my sell through is really good as an everything store.
Mhm.
So if I look at the last 90 days, and I know I discussed this the other day, let me just grab it up on the app. So as an everything store, my last 90 days is 629 active and 830 sold.
Okay.
Now, I know myself that if I start buying smaller items, I want that store to get up to 1,500. And I believe that is what I could store in my small shed if there's smaller items. So up in the listing goal doesn't worry me as much. The point what worries me is the 0.75 sell through. Have I been a bit too ambitious there potentially? Because understand, once you start upping your listings, the sell through might drop slightly. Or what's your thoughts on that? Because initially I had it at 0.5.
I think it's fine. Because your store is still relatively small. How many items right now?
Only 629 at the moment.
629. So to have let's see, 11 sales, I think you just need to be at 11, like 850, 900, right? Is that to
Mhm.
get how many sales are you having a day now?
Well, at the moment, it's about 10 to 12 a day at the moment,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm listing 13. Yeah, some days it's more, some days it's slightly
Got
less, but
it.
I'll say an average 12.
This is conservative, which is good.
Mhm.
So I think it's fine. I don't you're already above what I consider safe, which is you're selling more than half of your listing goal. And
Yeah.
it's good to plan for a bit of a slowdown. And I don't see any issues with this.
So this part here is interesting because this is the minimum profit I'm going
Yep.
to make after fees. And I'm not the best at spreadsheets, so someone might be able to give a bit more advice of how I can change this.
Sure.
But there is going to be times when I'm making 30, 40, 50, £200 profit on an
Hmm.
item. So the reason I've left it as 20, because that is kind of the minimum I'm looking to make on them items. And if all things go to plan, what we've worked out here after everything, so I've took off the tax as well in the UK
Yep.
at 20%.
Hmm.
Now, this might have to be adjusted, because once we get over a certain figure, the tax might jump up as well. It does jump up,
Sure.
in fact. So this might have to be adjusted. And then my plan is to hold 33%.
Hmm.
So I'm looking to save 33% of what I made.
Okay.
And to make sure by doing that, my lifestyle can't change. So I can't suddenly jump to amount made 6,975 and think, right, James has made it now. Let me go and buy a brand new TV, or let me go on holiday next month. It's
Yep.
got to be a case of the lifestyle can't change. but the effort has to go up a notch because
Hmm.
my listing goal was going up as well. So that for me is going to be a real challenge personally, because the mentality to feel like I've made a bit more money, let's treat yourself, because I think a lot of us do that. You make a little bit more and you want to reward yourself constantly. But I think by having this goal in place and kind of making myself accountable to say I want to save this kind of money, that will stop me changing my lifestyle because I'm quite committed to things when I put my mind to it.
Okay. Do you mind not sharing the screen anymore?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is 20 a day is 100 a week. This is right at 100,000 pounds a year. This goal that you have at 20, which is amazing. Do you have enough space for
With the
this?
small items, definitely. Because also I've got the loft space as well, which at the moment loads of the bulky stuff is stored in there. But yeah, with the small items, and what I'll probably do next year is actually change my storage system,
Okay.
because what I'm doing at the moment, I'm storing things in plastic crates. But I think there's other storage systems, like your box system, for instance. If
Mhm.
I'm having smaller items, I might be able to store more in there. But at one point in the shed, I had over 1,000 items stored, and that was bulky stuff. So yeah, I think to store 1,500 is quite comfortable. But as I say, I'd be happy keeping my store around the 800 mark if things are selling quick, because I don't want to be a storage company at the end of the day.
I mean, if you have 1,000 items in your store and you're selling 20 a day, that's essentially 2% sell through. And that's
Yeah,
not impossible. Plenty of people
sure.
are at that rate. But if you think about that, that's selling more than half your items every month.
Mhm.
That's amazing. That's 600 items selling out of the 1,000, and you would be
Yeah,
at $12,000, which is that this is actually above your goal. If we
yeah,
if we
absolutely.
do if we do this plan, you'll never go over 1,000 items.
Mhm.
Okay, so between now and then, do you need to make any changes? Between it's going to be 6 weeks before we hit the first of the year.
Yeah, so already I'm thinking about the change I need to make. So all of my bulky items I put into a heavily discounted markdown sale.
Okay.
And I'm at the point now where I don't even mind taking a small loss on some of the items if needed. Because when it gets to the end of December, them items are going to be taken off my store. So they're either going to be redonated, they're going to be given to another reseller, or maybe the last week of December, what I'll do is do a 99p auction, because I want to make sure I go into January without these big items, because they do take up so much room. I mean, two of my crates, for instance, have two items in each because they're that bulky. So I can straight away get rid of them. So yeah, just running aggressive markdown sales.
Okay. So I think one thing, in order to average 20 pounds profit per item, you're gonna need an aged inventory process. And what that will do is some of the items will sell for less than 20 pounds. But
Yeah.
that's profit. But that's okay if you aim for 20 pounds minimum when you're looking. It should offset because maybe in March, there will be 3 or 4 items that sell for 5 pounds profit, but you'll have made it up with the bigger ones.
Yeah, and that's the key. I know there's going to be some items in my store still now that I might have to kind of accept 5, 6, £7 offers. But you're right. If I have two of them a day, but all my other items are £20 and over, it's going to offset them as well. So I know it's going to be a bit of a mixture at first until all of my stock is above the £20.
Okay, so how about your inventory system? Do you feel like it's easy for you to find items currently?
Yeah, so I've always used a SKU system with the crates.
Yeah.
So basically A1, and then what I do is have it in a clear bag, the item, and I have a sticker on that as well. So I can kind of look in the crate, find a clear bag, pull it out, check the sticker's correct, and then I found the item. But again, once I move to the box system, I'd probably change my whole SKU to your way, numerical.
Okay. Another thing, are you motivated by positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement? Like, for example, are you already making more than your bills?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm making more
Okay.
now than I was in my full-time recruitment job as a recruitment manager. So with regards to the bill side, I know you spoke a lot about paying yourself.
Mhm.
I, at the moment, take the bare minimum out of the business that I need to
Yeah.
pay the mortgage, the bills, and everything else.
Mhm.
And that's why I was saying the stumbling block for me potentially would have been to say, well, take some more money out for yourself. but instead I'm going to take more money out to save, and that's going to be a different thing for me. But yeah, at the moment I'm making more than enough to cover what we need.
Is there any lifestyle changes that you want? Can you,
Um,
because the reason why I ask is sometimes
mm,
when people have a goal with what they want to do with the savings, it's easier to keep them on track, and it can be something you want to buy. So I'm just curious.
no easy answer on that. We are looking at moving house next year as
Mhm.
well, but I have savings already for that. But we're looking at moving house next year because we're trying to start a family as well. So we're looking for somewhere bigger. So with that move as well, we'll create more space, because my plan is to still work from home, but we're going to find somewhere or create a converted garage, for instance, that connects onto the house, which will create more space. Because my vision, Chris, is to create an area where I can do my YouTube videos. For
Yeah.
instance, I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel as well. So once we can move house, we can create more space, and then it will open up that side of the business as well, the YouTube side a bit more.
Okay. So I really like the idea of having like a separate savings account for investment savings. So,
Yeah,
and there could also be something like so savings for investment. You have savings for baby, um, savings for house additions. These are all really good. So
yeah.
I you can even look at those as bills.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Sorry, I'm gonna get rid of a troll.
We like Charles.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so we have the baby savings, the house savings, the space, inventory system, age inventory. Okay, so let's talk about schedule. How are
Mm.
you currently doing your is it 15 listings?
13 at the moment.
Okay, 13. When do you normally do your 13 listings? And then what will change so that to allow you over the course of the time to do seven more?
Yeah, so we had a chat a while ago about the schedule, and actually you were kind enough to help me create a schedule. Do I stick to it 100%? Probably not. But I'll be honest with you, my mentality at the moment now is the first thing I do when I wake up is get my listings done. So first
Okay.
things first, they're an absolute priority. What I used to do before is all my postage, and then what would happen, I'd put off doing my listings. So anyway, I do my listings first of all, then we move on to postage. Straight away after that, and I get my postage sent out. And normally I like all of that to be completely wrapped up before your calls.
Okay.
But sourcing is going to be something I need to change next year, because at the moment I predominantly source on a Saturday and Sunday when the car boots are open. And then I do a bit of online sourcing, Facebook Marketplace, etc. throughout the week. But I have the opportunity to go to 2 midweek car boot sales and also a Thursday and Friday auction as well. So I feel if I'm going to be niching down to smaller items, I need to put myself out at more places. So I will have to look at my schedule next year, because if I'm going to a morning car boot sale, that will push the morning start of my day back a bit. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, Chris, most days by the time we finish this call, my working day is done, and it's only the extra stuff I'm doing. It's more a case of building drafts for the future, and it's the rest of the stuff. And then I focus a lot from that point really on the YouTube development.
Okay. How many items do you currently have unlisted?
Unlisted in my what we call the death pile, I have probably got, I would say 100. But that's only because I made a big buyout from another reseller. And so I've got quite a lot of their stuff that is unlisted. But yeah, I would probably say 100 at the moment.
Okay, I love it. So there's a few things that we need to have in place, I think, for the final goal,
Hmm.
because in theory, you could move a little bit faster because the 20 goal, you're already selling more than 10.
Yeah.
So that means that you can safely grow, but you need to make sure that you have the time and space and resources to reach the final goal. So right now the GPS is at 20 listings a day. So I wrote
Hmm.
down 280 listings. I might go scheduled, but because it's 250 drafts, right? So
Yeah.
what I would do is potentially schedule ahead 280 listings, which is 2 weeks, which is within the 3 weeks ahead of maximum scheduled listings. So if
Hmm.
you had 280 listings scheduled ahead, and 200 items unlisted,
Yeah.
this would give you a buffer in case you can't find anything.
Hmm.
And then I think that the difference in time between 13 and 20 listings is around maybe an hour. So if you're gonna also want to balance YouTube, because I have this too,
Hmm.
you might have to become a little bit more efficient. So before you grow your listing goal, you might want to try to see if you can do your listings and postage in a little bit of a shorter time frame. So see if you can finish an hour before this call.
Yeah.
Then you'll have an idea of what it looks like with that extra hour of processing. And then I have a good idea for you to do your YouTube. Okay. So over the years, because right now I'm doing Daryl Eves's YouTube um, course, and he talks about doing buckets. And this is the same thing with reselling. So with reselling, I'm going to help you narrow down your niche in just a second. But adding on YouTube, I think you should add on buckets. So as an example, a bucket would be what's sold this week. That's the easiest one to add. So you can,
Yeah.
and that one always does the best. So over the course of the next 5 years, if you add on one bucket every few months, then in a year from now, when we have this conversation, you'll have 4 buckets of YouTube that make money. And then with reselling, the way I've been doing it is this: as the sourcing narrows down, maybe you find 10 small items from this place, 10 small items from this place, 10 small items from this place. So I would say 8 to 10 suppliers.
Hmm.
And that could be 8 to 10 different charity shops. I count like one trip to a specific car boots. Are there recurring car boot sales?
Yeah, so the two I go to is every week especially over the summer, and then there's some winter ones I can switch to when it's cold and wet, indoor ones.
Okay. So that is key, because if you have a few different recurring type of sourcing, then you can always have the supply. And it's the same thing as a YouTube bucket. It's just a
Mhm.
reselling bucket.
Yeah.
And then what is the constraint for what's considered large? Because I think if I was an everything seller and my goal was 20, I would be tempted to sell a printer. It's not
Uh,
enormous, but it's not small.
yeah, so it's one of them things where it might have to be the 80-20 rule when it comes to that kind of thing. Because I know if I was to walk past a brand new sealed DVD VHS recorder that
Yeah.
I know is going to go for £200 tomorrow and it's
Mhm.
£5, there's no way I'm going to not pick it up. I'll find a box for that.
Yeah.
But it can't be, there was a time when I went to an auction house and I brought 20 printers. And by the time you've tested them, by the time you've chucked out the ones that don't work, and that takes time to go and have them to chuck them away. And then by the time you store them and post them, and then things get broken to post because they're so bulky, and our couriers just chuck things over people's fences and don't care. It's just not worth your time. But it's going to be the 80-20 rule. Wherever I see something I know is going to be an instant seller, I'm not going to leave it behind.
Okay. So guys in the chat and on YouTube, let me know if this is useful, but I want to go over these parameters with James so that he can think through this solution. So one thing I would do is, another rule I would set is, you can pick up anything bulky that you want after your 20 goal. So
Mm-hmm.
like if you don't have enough time that week, then leave it there. But if for
Yeah.
some reason you have extra time, then go for it. And more important than that bulky item would be developing another bucket. So you could say, yes, I could get this printer that makes me 200 pounds, or you could use the same time and think about finding one more bucket, which will pay tens of thousands of dollars versus one singular item. So it's important to think that, yes, you could make money, a lot of money per hour on something, but it will only happen one time.
Yeah.
So this is great. I love it. Okay, so we have enough space. You have enough capital to buy the items. Your store is already making enough money to cover the cost of goods. Um, okay, so I want to narrow down your, not necessarily your everything, but are there categories that you are more comfortable in beyond video games and What other things?
Yeah, I think everyone obviously straight away goes to video games because we all know if you pick them up, they're going to sell
Mhm.
instantly. I've had a lot of success with cameras, so digital cameras, SLR cameras, etc. Um, Believe it or not, and it's a weird market, and I've got one sitting here. House phones,
Mm.
they sell really well
Well,
for me, and normally I can pick up a box of these house phones and break them all down. And some of these house phones go for 20, £25 alone, and then you've got the bases on top as well. So there's lots of small items I can find at the car boot sale. And the good thing about our boot sales, Chris, there is so much there. So I don't feel I'll have the problem to pick up all of these items. But again, it's going to be the mindset shift of not picking up this item where it's going to be worth £10. I need to leave them behind unless I can bundle it. Because if there's five of these £10 items, I might say, well, there's £40 profit, for instance. But yeah, there's so much out there.
do
But
you feel
for
like
me, it just can't be these huge things.
so over the year that you've been doing the car booth sale, has there been more people at it?
Yes, but less now that COVID is kind of over in a way.
I
So I
see.
think a lot of people like myself, I was made redundant, which got me into doing reselling full time. But I've seen in the UK market, a lot of people, you see on all the Facebook groups, eBay's dead, it doesn't work anymore, and they're leaving the platform,
Hmm.
which is good. But I feel like the car boot sales now, there is still a lot of resellers, but they all look for different things.
I see.
So there's not many niched resellers that I come across at the car boot sales.
Okay. I'm gonna have to watch. So, I mean, do you ever show yourself at the car booth, or are you afraid of people stealing your
No,
money?
no. Every car boot I go to, I film now on the GoPro, and
Okay.
they are the best performing videos. And that was one of my videos that went viral as well. 100 and I think it's on 160,000 now on YouTube. And yeah, they're good fun. And even non-resellers and people who don't go to car boot sales love watching them because it's that treasure hunt. So yeah, you're talking about buckets. That is my best performing bucket by far.
I love it. Okay. So, the scheduling of getting in your YouTube, you know what? I'm gonna throw that goal out there. I want you to finish YouTube also by this call.
Okay.
So because essentially you want to be about 2 weeks ahead, if minimum, if you're going to try to do a YouTube channel, at least
Yeah.
think that way, and then you'll be able to be consistent. Because I went from so what I did was I've always been consistent on YouTube, but over the years the quality has gotten better, and the I think it's almost easier to add quality than to add consistency. So it's just your habits. If you were to wake up, I would maybe do postage first, but listings first is fine. Wake up, do 20 listings, do your shipping. And I would say the easier part of YouTube is scripting. So get an idea of what your day is going to look like, and then be done at 2 p.m. because it's quite difficult, because I'm telling you, once you add on a family, it becomes very intense. So
Yeah.
worth it, but
We're
very intense.
we were speaking about that this morning. I was speaking to Hunley about that actually. That she was saying about kids and that, and I'm like, well, I've got two cats, and so you don't feel my pain. And she's like, yeah, wait until you have a kid. It's a different level of pain. So no, but I can see that, Chris. And my wife's a private nanny, so she's got a lot of experience in childcare. But
Yeah.
once she has the baby, she's not going to want to go out to work and look after other people's children. So this is another reason, part of the saving, part of why I'm so passionate about it, is if I can save that kind of money in a year, there's no way then that she would have to stress about the work thing moving forward as well. And hopefully in the future, she can just join the business and help me with that as well.
Yeah. I think it's cool. This sounds intense, but um, wait, let's say that you eventually have two kids.
Hmm.
That could, if you're saving for college and and you have a little bit of childcare, it's gonna be 3, 4,000 pounds a month easily.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when I do all these goals, I want you to also think, what does 30 listings a day look like?
Hmm.
Because there, if you can, does your wife currently work?
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's a full-time nanny. So she works full-time, earns a good salary. But as I say, when we have children, she's already said that she doesn't want to leave our child in childcare, and then go and look after someone else's child. It doesn't make sense. But there might be a way for, in the UK, it's like a childminder. So she'll be able to take our child to her job and look after our child and other kids as well. But then I have to think about that and planning ahead, because there might be a couple of days where I am looking after the child. So what would my plan look like in that aspect? Because you've kind of got to work things around then. So I'm thinking about all this in my head as well, because, you know, we're trying for children now. So hopefully, touch wood, in the next year or so, we'll be in a position of, in a way, what do I do, you know?
This is a personal question, but can your wife's salary pay your bills?
Yes.
Okay. So the way I've been looking at it, and the way my wife and I look at it is both of us need to be able to make the household income on our own in case one person can't work. But the freedom part doesn't get until you start like it's almost like when you're saving twice as much. So this is obviously intense for everyone listening, but if you think about making twice as much money and keeping your lifestyle the same, the savings grows really fast and starts to compound. And I think that my life completely changed when I saved $100,000. Like a huge, like it, very different, because then you're no longer in a hurry. So that I love the 50,000 pound goal. And I think that you're well on your way. I just you need to combine like what's possible in your day, because these goals that we have right now are not near your potential, which makes me wonder, like the way I look at it is how many listings can I do in an hour, and then how many hours can I do it, instead of like 10 or 15 or 20. It's like as many as I can. So on days where I have to take care of the baby, or we had an insane amount of doctor's appointments, so that's like extremely distracting. If you have something happen and you have to switch gears, it's almost like that whole day is gone. So I think it's important to plan for extra. So it's like it will not look like 20 listings every day on the production side. There's going to be days where you do 30 and the next day you do 0 because family. So I'm excited for you. This is like the most difficult time. And also I kind of wish everybody in this group had it earlier in their life, because it helps so much.
I mean, for me, it's exciting and scary, but I feel because I've now had a year in the group and I've had 2 years of eBay reselling, I kind of feel, we were speaking yesterday about levels, and I feel I would say now I'm at not the starter level, but I would say I'm at the beginner level. But I want to come and speak to you next year to say, well, now I'm at the advanced level. You know, I thought 20 a day was my cap, but I've actually realized I could easily do 25 and 30 as an everything store and still run a YouTube channel. And look how YouTube's grown because of the content I'm putting out. So it all kind of links into everything, really. So no, it's really good to actually sit and just speak to someone about it as well, because I spoke to the wife, and when I said to her about a plan to say 50 grand, when you tell someone that figure, they kind of feel like, well, how's that possible? But then when you start working out how it could be, it makes more sense.
I think that as one of your buckets on YouTube, you could pick Hero's Journey, which is James's journey through life. And you know what? It's kind of a hack, because if you have a YouTube channel about self-development and you don't improve, then people will stop watching you.
Yeah.
So as long as you add one of your buckets as your personal development, then that will naturally lend itself to, okay, I've been doing the same thing for a while. I need to do something better to improve.
Yeah.
And I think, that's a really good bucket to add.
Also on that side as well, Chris, I think we know from doing YouTube as well, people will watch as well in a way to see if you fail. And some people will be watching just to see whether you hit the point of where you can't make it. You know, so some people like to see people be successful, other people like to see people fail. So in a way, you get double the watchers. So that's quite good. It's a good idea.
That's true. Isaiah?
I was just gonna ask, while we're listening to, like, for us listening to you guys, what should we be thinking about so that we can also try to apply this and save $50,000 or whatever it is whatever our goals are on our side? Like, how should we be thinking while listening to it?
So I think the main thing is figuring out what your bills are and then being realistic about it. Because if, for example, you like to eat out or you like nice clothes or you want a nice car, then it's better to just plan that in to what you are doing. So I think that a lot of people they think that not increasing their lifestyle is super miserable. But the whole point of doing this is to live the life that you want, be able to save for the things that you want. And the level where you are making more money than your bills, that's freedom. So if you think of it as in, I'm buying back my freedom, then you don't care about anything. Like earlier, people were guessing what shirt I was going to wear, and you have a 50% chance of guessing right because I only have like 8 shirts because I don't care. I'd rather use that shirt to buy more freedom in the future. And freedom comes from money. Like all roads lead to money buys security and money buys time. Maybe it can't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy security and time. And it can, like, I wish that I had just taken 2 weeks off when my baby was born and not done a few hours. Actually, to be honest, the first 2 weeks, since I couldn't help with feeding because we tried to do breastfeeding, I felt kind of left out because I was like not able to help feed. So I would just work. But in retrospect, I wish I had just not done anything and just watched it. But you need money to do that. How many people can just take 2 weeks off and not do anything? So one thing also in the UK, do they provide, does the government provide any support for dads?
Yeah, so we get what's called paternity leave for
Yeah.
dads, which is 2 weeks off paid. But I'll be honest with you, and I'll be interested to see if anyone else in the UK knows this. I don't know how that works if you're self-employed, because I don't know if we get anything. So I'll be keen to know.
That was one of the reasons why I switched to corporation.
Mhm.
So now I get all the benefits in California because I'm a W-2 employee. I work for my company. So now I get some government benefits from that. And I think it's interesting when people do think about switching over because you make enough money to be a corporation. So then you could take that 2 weeks paid off time. And yeah, I want that for you. Somehow I could give you that first 2 weeks is so different than any other part of it.
But Chris, for me, I look at that, and that's all about planning for me. Like you mentioned there about the draft bank. If I could plan to get nearer the time to get 4 weeks ahead of the game on the draft bank, there's no reason why for 2 weeks I could not just schedule them drafts. And yes, I've still got to do the posting. But the joy of working from home is that, for me to pop and drop off my parcels and stuff might take an hour or two a day. But the rest of the time, then I can just focus on that, because I think a lot of us say you don't want to miss them early years, especially because I think you're recognizing they grow up so quickly as well. And this is someone who hasn't got kids who's speaking from that non-experience, but
Jen, what's up?
Yeah, I was curious, Chris, when the eBay debacle happened for you, did you have money saved up? And were you at all anxious about where money was going to come from at that point in time? And now that we're a year away from that, where is your head with regards to that? And has any of your thoughts changed on security in this business?
That's a good question. So I was making more than $1,000 a day profit on eBay when I got suspended, which is a lot. And I did not, it obviously that's a huge income that went away, but because of this group and over the years learning how to make money, I wasn't really that worried, because it's like you have your effort and your skills. And luckily I stayed in the same industry, right? I still have all my suppliers. For me, a more devastating blow would be to lose my suppliers, because you can always sell items if you can find them at a good price. So for me, investing in skills, and that's why I'm telling James 8 to 10 sourcing, make sure that you have enough space, make sure that you're increasing your knowledge so that you can switch. I know that if I switch to plumbing, it would take me an additional 1 to 2 years because I don't have any transferable skills. So also, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, tech told me that when you add on an income, you can't lose the other income because, so he told me that 4 or 5 years ago, but I didn't use that until 2 years ago. Because what happens is, let's say that you cross list, right? So you're at this level. When you cross list, you go to this level. This adds this, it adds up to the same amount, but you rearrange your income. You have 50% income in Poshmark, 50% income in eBay, right? But it's easier if you just put 100% into one thing and then get suspended and then just move it to another one. It only takes 60 to 90 days usually to replace your income on a same thing. The part that was really odd is when I got suspended on eBay, I was already making a lot of money on Whatnot. So it was not an odd.
So you had that stream. Okay. That
But
stream was
it was
kind of going.
but it
Okay.
was additional.
Yeah, right.
So I think that when like, okay, this is gonna sound weird. When I got suspended on eBay, the amount of time that I got back was around 20 hours a week. I spent 20 hours a week on eBay. So I got 20 hours a week back. So from that point on to now, like my YouTube channel has grown, my this group has grown, my Whatnot has been ridiculous. So now I also understand the power of live. So I'm really wondering, I'm gonna go to a flea market and sell with Storage Auction Pirate to get an idea of what it's like selling in person. I actually think that transfers. If you because you can see live what items people are looking for and what they're looking at when they hold the item, what they might want to know, what booths are busy and not busy. Like if I was I'm sure car boot sales are the same as flea markets. There are certain areas that are less busy than others.
Yeah,
You want to
no,
focus
absolutely.
on, yeah, go ahead.
You get the for instance, you get the house clearance people who turn up at the car boot sale, and already you can tell who are resellers and who aren't because they run over and they're just rummaging through everything, picking up stacks of items and just saying, what's your price on that as a bulk thing. And you also see it when the new cars pull up, because everyone wants to straight away get in there, any vintage gaming stuff, any games consoles, any of this, any of that, any jewelry, any Lego, etc. And so the newer stalls are more busy. So actually, sometimes the mentality I have is actually start at the first stalls that have been there longer, because there would be stuff that people have missed just by trying to grab stuff out of their boot before they've set up. And a lot of people now in the UK car boot sales get fed up with that. So they actually just tell people, no, I haven't got anything like that, just to get rid of them. And it's so funny how you can walk past 20 minutes later, once they're all at the new cars, and suddenly they've got a games console sitting there. So it's just your mentality and the way you go about it. But yeah, our boot sales are exactly the same as your flea markets.
Yeah. I also think that since your eBay name is the same as your YouTube, you will be able to start getting sales from your audience. And somebody's mentioning that Harry Tornado was able to turn $5 into 400 in 5 hours by just starting with 5, going in, flipping it, coming back out, selling it, and like repeating the cycle over and over again, and turning 5 into 400 in one day. I think that you have that opportunity too, and you guys will have a let's see, you guys will have a live auction site eventually. There's no way that trend won't hit the UK.
Yeah, I think it's planning to come. But like you're saying there about subscribers on YouTube, it's been great because I sold a PlayStation to a subscriber who messaged me on Instagram, and I got £100 for it. And yes, on eBay it's £140, but you haven't got to deal with the fees and all the extra hassle potentially. And even now at the moment, I'm doing a challenge where I brought stuff at a car boot sale. And what I'm doing is selling that as quick as possible. And then I'm going to buy presents to give to children who are less fortunate in the UK. So they've got something to open on Christmas Day. So I'm doing that as a kind of vloggy journey. And already I've sold 2 items to people off of eBay who have just kind of said to me, I want to support you. How about £20 for this hat? And so, you know, I'm building that community up as well off eBay, YouTube, and also Instagram as well, which I found really powerful to build my YouTube channel.
Yeah. I want to address something really important in the chat. So Eliza and Char, or Elisa, maybe Elisa B, are saying that they're listing every day and focusing on that, but I wouldn't focus on listing every day. You guys need to do what James is doing and thinking about what is selling every day, because listing one item and selling one item is better than listing 100 items and selling one item. So you need to think about what's going into your store. And in the UK, Nicholas is saying people focus on sustainability. See, this is interesting because yes, I try to include a brand new box on every item if I can, because it's a better presentation, but I still reuse boxes. I don't know if you guys do that or not, but all the boxes I get from ordering something, all of those boxes get reused again. As long as there's no holes or tears, I'm reusing the boxes and I have not had any complaints. So it also saves you time and money. Just you already have the box.
Yeah, we do that. Well, I do that as well. I think it's you're right. If it's, I wouldn't send like a stuff in a pizza box or something, or even like a cat food box, etc. necessarily, because if you kind of list your items as pet free home and send it in a cat food box, it's not going to look great. But yeah, I use all the boxes from Amazon, for instance, and people don't mind that because it's all about the recycling. A lot of people like that when they can see you reusing boxes.
Yeah, I think also Luke in the chat is saying that Whatnot is coming to the UK. That would make sense to me because I already ship to the UK. So the shipping has already been figured out from the US to the UK. So I'm assuming they need to figure out Whatnot's, they need to figure out the shipping part, which is quite complicated. So when they figure out UK Post and they have the right things in place, I'm sure it will launch there. And actually, reselling is much older in the UK than it is here because the UK is older. I believe that the vintage antique estate market in the UK will be very popular once it pops up. It will pop up because in Asia, which is ahead of the curve technology wise, a lot of grocery stores do live shopping. Can you believe that? Like before the avocados go bad, they live stream them to the local neighborhood just for as much as they can get. And then none of the avocados are wasted because they sell all of them. Instead of throwing them away, they can sell them for just a couple bucks and get their money back, clear the space. And that is going to come here everywhere. So because it's more efficient. Isaiah.
This is gonna pull us back a little bit back to the 50K. But so like to save 50K, you need to save $137 a day every day.
Yep.
Like what do you need to do? What is that per month? Hold on. What's 137 times 30? It's $4,100 a month. So what do you need to do? Or how much do you need to sell on eBay to actually be able to generate and save $4,100 a month / $137 a day?
So for James, it's 6 or 7 more items a day at 6 or more 7 items a day at 20 pounds. He would reach that goal. So for most people, it's around 13 to 15 items more. They would save 50 grand a year. If your ASP is higher, then you would be higher. But essentially, you need to figure out how much you make per item and then divide that by 137. And that would be your how to make $50,000 a year more, which is essentially what saving $50,000 is. It's earning more. And it's probably looks like as an example, so for those of you listening that are maybe earlier in your journey, getting $3,000 a month profit, Isaiah texted me that it's like $7,000 gross, maybe $7,000 in sales, you'll make 3. But I think you need to be more conservative and like aim for like 10. And then
it won't be 7. Like, cause like to get $3,000 profit, you could do it with 7K, but you also have to reinvest in more inventory. So like it might to actually get 3,000, you can put, it looks like 10 to put it in your savings account.
So using that as an example, like each time you save or you earn 10 more $1,000, it's like adding another $3,000 or $4,000 to your final egg, and that's the amount that you're saving. Sally, you have a question?
I do, Chris. I think that this is really a very useful broadcast, and I think maybe consider not titling it "How to Save $50,000" because maybe somebody doesn't want to save 50. This is great information on how to position your store to meet your financial goals or something like that. Because we get tied up in
Sure.
how much do you need to sell a day when really the information you've provided is classic structure for how to progress in your eBay store, whether you're starting out or whether you're stuck at a level.
Yeah, and I want to do the same exercise. Maybe Sally, we can do you next week and figure out your goals as well. But I like this type of format where we're trying to figure out what constraints there might be. So I'm looking for constraints. I'm looking for things that can go wrong. I'm looking for time vampires. I'm looking for capacity. Like how much can you make? Because I think that everyone listening right now, everyone is below their potential. And that of course is not just money, but being able to finish your listings earlier, an hour earlier, maybe that's your goal. Maybe your goal is to sell things that would end up in the landfill, so profit's not your main goal. I mean, there's so many different ways to approach this, but I think you're right, Sally. This is more based on this is foundational building blocks for your business.
Where my
And also,
mentality has shifted,
Go ahead,
sorry,
James.
where my mentality has shifted slightly as well recently, Chris, and I think that is starting YouTube, is now I don't see Bold Finds as just eBay. I'm now trying to look at Bold Finds as the brand and trying to think about where next can I go. So I've got eBay, I'm building YouTube. What other avenues in the future? Because I'm interested as well in property in the future as well. So it's all thinking about what I can do. And that's a lot of that is listening to yourself and also Tech as well, where Tech and Sports is not just Tech and Sports eBay. He's got all of these other revenue streams that he's built up over the years. So he kind of used it as Tech and Sports, the brand, compared to Tech and Sports eBay. And we spoke about in the YouTube call, if Tech was to open up a YouTube channel, he would be one of the highest subbed YouTube channels overnight, I think.
It would be ridiculous, I know, because the
mystery.
And also he's so unusual in the productivity level. The productivity level is so high. So if you look at, okay, I'm going to do something here that I'm going to actually, we'll call on Hannah first, and then I'm going to add this idea of what I think Tech does.
Very good question. So you just said that you think that everyone in this call is working below their potential.
Yep.
Do you believe that you are working below your potential? And then the same question for Tech.
For James.
Do you think you're working below your potential? And do you think that Tech is working below his potential?
Yes, we're not even like 1%. Because if you look at the hours, and the Tech walks on the treadmill for 5 hours. He could be out killing it, doing something else for 5 hours. It's not like he's wasting that time, but the hourly rate per what you're doing, and let's back up off of money for a second. Value for Earth level, he's not maximizing value for Earth level. There's so many things you can do. There's so much more you can do everywhere that you're doing. For me, like I still watch Netflix every day. I still waste lots of time. So I mean, it's almost like depressing how much time you waste in a day. There's so much you can do. Like if you do text method, it only takes you one minute to do something. How many 1 minutes are there? It's scary. He invented this podcast in like 5 minutes. So I mean, like it is really interesting. And I've been doing like, it is so scary. Everyone is below their potential. James?
Yeah, Chris, it just made me think about what we were discussing earlier. I woke up at 2:30 this morning with Tech's call on, still on the headphones. And I woke up at the perfect time when the number one shoe seller had just popped in and asked Tech a question.
Yeah.
And everyone was blown away, thinking this guy's been in the group for 8 months. He's number one. Isaiah's been stalking him down to find out who this guy is, but he's been sitting there. He asked his question. People asked this guy loads of questions. And what did he do afterwards? He left the call. back to work. It blew my mind, because we're talking about wasting time. How many times, and I think to myself, and I've sat through your call many a times, Chris, and I still haven't done my listings, and I'm sitting there just listening, not even interacting sometimes. And I think to myself, what a waste of an hour. No offense, but I could be listening while working. But yeah, it blew my mind yesterday how that guy just dipped in, asked Tech a question, gave you and Tech a shout out for the support, was nice enough to answer some other questions, and then was like, right, and just dipped out, and he's back to work. It's that mentality, isn't it? It's robotic in a way.
You know, there's this saying that learners are earners. And the number 4 eBay store is, I think, DC Comics or something. DC Sports 87 is the number 4 eBay store. They listen to our podcast. And sometimes we get a message from him, and he's like, we're currently listing 4,000 items a day, right? And we listen to the podcast and try to add some stuff in. So, I mean, it's the same. When you start, you listen to the call and try to add something. We're not like, you can't add everything. You can't, and copying doesn't work. So like people say, hey, I tried promoting listings at 10% and it didn't work. What about the other 900 million things that we do? It's impossible to copy. All you can do is add one thing at a time, and you have to see if it works. If you add one thing and it doesn't work, you also need to, okay, this is something also that's important for your YouTube journey. Daryl says that you need to give a bucket 3 or 4 months to work. So how many people here give an effort on reselling for 3 or 4 months? They try it for like a week and then they say it doesn't work, but it takes time to mature. So potential, we're nowhere near our potential. Sally, did you have another question? Or are you again?
No, I was ordering coffee from my husband. Thanks.
I love it. So James, before we go today, let people know where they can find you again. And do you want to talk about any of your recent YouTube adventures?
Yeah, so I say it's Bold Finds on eBay, Instagram, and YouTube. So BOLDFINDS, Bold Finds. YouTube adventures. So I'm going to try something because my first, 6 months, I've not even been on YouTube 6 months, but I'm going to do Vlogmas, Chris. So in case people who do not know, Vlogmas is kind of a life in the day all over Christmas. So every day a new video. And honestly, I don't know whether it's going to absolutely drain me, because a lot of other YouTubers I spoke to have said, I've tried it once, I'll never do it again. But I just want to show more of my life. So not just in the shed, what sold, reselling. It's a bit more of, out on walks, looking at Christmas stuff, going to shops to buy the Christmas, it's all about the Christmas spirit and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to try that. And that's what I'm planning at the moment on YouTube. So 8 to 10 minute videos a day. And my guess, honestly, is at first I'll get lots of views. And then by the time it gets to day 10 or 12, I'll start seeing the views drop down. That's my prediction, because I think people will stop watching. So, but I'm going to try it to see, because I'm going off that based on shed flips, because he at one point was doing a video every day. And I know for myself as a viewer, after day sort of 40, I stopped watching them every day. So yeah, I'm just interested to see how it works.
The way to reduce that churn would be to have a journey that you're trying to do. So perhaps like list an item every day for 30 days, then people would watch it and it would be informational. So, but typically the first part of the challenge will get watched over and over again. So yeah, make that first vlog, plan for the first vlog. So is it every day in December or only till Christmas?
So I'm going to do from December the 1st up till the 24th. Hopefully, I don't really want to be around the table filming Christmas dinner. I don't think the wife will let me do that. But yeah, I'm going to do that. But also on my channel, I am doing a £10 to £10,000 challenge on my channel at the moment. But I need to get back on them videos. I've been a bit slack on that, but that's something I'm really interested in. But I might kind of play into this idea of £0 into £50,000 of savings. Maybe do that kind of video for next year as well. So it'd be quite nice starting this in January and actually starting a year's channel or year's bucket on that video itself. A bit of accountability. And I don't mind admitting, coming back to you guys next year and saying, I failed, I've only managed to save 25,000. but at least I can look back to see what didn't go well and then plan for the next year as well. So yeah, I'm excited about the YouTube side. I'm excited about this calls, and yeah, I'm really grateful, Chris, to be part of the group.
So everybody, there's 128 people on our Zoom call, and I don't know how many people on YouTube. How many people are in the UK and have heard of James already? Because I'm curious how. I think my UK audience is actually huge. I don't know though, even. But I bet there's definitely some UK people. But hopefully you get some subscribers from this. It looks like there's a good amount of people who are in the UK. Okay, cool. Love you everywhere. Love you, everybody on YouTube. We're going to take this call back private again. Everybody follow James, and we'll see you guys next week.